everyone. And let me get my microphone in here. Hi, and shut the music off. Hi, everybody. Can you hear me? Welcome. Hi, Jen.
Hi
All
everybody.
right.
Hi Sandy. How's everybody
Woo.
today?
Well, here. I'm here. And it's great to see you. It's great to be here with you as always, Jennifer. We
Oh, it's
have
great to be here
a
with you.
busy show. And Tony's with us. Antonio's in there with us. And
Hi Antonio.
yeah, and Dwayne and Billy Joe, Karen Reese, Cindy. Cindy's here. Cindy, oh my God. I used to be with Cindy a long time ago on this when we were like political activists. Hi,
Oh
Cindy.
really?
Yeah, years
Great.
ago, years ago. Yep, T Bone and Gary and Kimchi. Oh, my. Hi, Kimchi. Welcome, welcome, welcome. BB and Steve Angelico. Oh, my God, CB Poppy. We've got a full house. We've got a full house. Midas Lisa, Tom Hall. Okay, let's go. Jennifer, take
Yeah.
it away. Take it
We
away,
have
baby.
we have a great show lined up for you
A
all
scary
tonight.
show.
Scary show. Scary show.
Scary
And it's
show.
called The Heat is
Yes.
On. And we're going to start with an entry from Encyclopedia Britannica. And we're going to talk about the definition of heat wave just to kind of set the matter straight. And then we're going to
Mm-hmm.
launch into our first article from France 24, climate change leading to earlier and earlier heat waves, scientists say. I hope you have that one, Sandy. um,
There it is, babe.
okay, cool. And then the next one we have up is from The Guardian. New data reveals extraordinary global heating in the Arctic. Temperatures in the Barents Sea region are off the scale and may affect extreme weather in the US and Europe. So that's a scary one from The
Oh, they
Guardian.
all are
And
scary.
then we've got an entry here from breezyscroll.com. Have we ever done
No, we
breezyscroll.com?
have not. They're a new one. They
They're a
are.
new
Uh
one.
oh. I think I got the wrong article.
From what?
Breezy scroll.
Climate change, largest ever methane leak detected at a Russian coal mine.
All right. I got to get the right one. I don't know what
Do you
happened
want
to it.
me to
That's
ping
okay.
this
Just
over to
keep
you real
going.
quick?
Nope. Everybody, we
You
can
got it?
fool
It's in the
around.
chat. Okay,
Yeah. It's in our
cool.
chat. I'll get it on there.
Okay, cool. And
Yeah.
then the next one we have up is from indicamedium.com. So those of us who like a different flavor of our medium. Climate collapse is the logical result of colonialism. You can't take and take from people and the planet forever. So this is a rather thoughtful article from indicamedium.com. And then we're going to finish up with our very favorite doomer, Umair Haig. Heat, flood, fire, drought, war, inflation. Welcome to the
Yeah.
age of extinction. Our planet is changing in profound, terrifying, and visible ways now, but we're still in denial about what it means. So there you go, guys. We
All
got a full
right.
show for you today.
And I'm looking for that one, Jennifer. And for some
Which
reason,
one?
that
Which
breezy
one?
one,
Oh, really?
the breeze. Yes. And they call me the breeze. Leonard Skinner.
Okay.
It's. I'm just looking. Let's see.
I
Science.
got it. I'll send over to you.
It probably just wanted to
Here.
take itself
Oh.
away. You're going to send it to me. She's sending it to
Mhm.
me. See how wonderful it is to be able to do this show and do it on the fly when some little silly thing. Now that's the methane one. Okay, I got it. All right, guys, we are going to be ready to go, and Jennifer is going to tell you just what in the hell does the Britannica Encyclopedia, what does it say?
Heat wave,
Heat
also
wave.
called heat wave. You know, you can have like one word
Heat.
or two. That's the
Hot.
point.
Hot.
period of prolonged abnormally high surface temperatures relative to those normally expected. Heat waves may span several days to several weeks and are significant causes of weather related mortality, affecting developed and developing countries alike. Globally, the increasing frequency and intensity of heat waves observed since the 1950s has been associated with climate change. Such weather phenomena may be characterized by low humidity, which may exacerbate drought, or high humidity, which may exacerbate
Debate.
the health effects of heat related stress.
Whoa,
So,
wait, are we
you
just
win
lucky?
win either way, guys. Don't
Win
worry
win.
about a thing.
Oh my
Jeez.
God.
Okay. Which include heat exhaustion, dehydration, and heat stroke.
Mm.
No formal, standardized definition of a heat wave exists. The World Meteorological Organization defines it as 5 or more consecutive days during which the daily maximum temperature surpasses the average temperature by 5 degrees C
Mm.
or more. Some countries have adopted their own standards. For example, India Meteorological Department requires that temperatures increase 5 to 6 degrees or more above the normal temperatures. Oh, Jesus Christ, they're going to kill me. Whereas the U.S. National Weather Service defines a heat wave as a spell of abnormally and uncomfortably hot and unusually humid weather spanning two
Oh my
days or
God.
more. And I think that's it. We got it,
Yeah.
right? We don't do
Yeah,
you
we
wanna
got
read
it,
the
but
whole thing?
no.
Okay.
But you know what I want to give? I want to start
Mm.
out early. That's the heat wave. The heat
Oh,
wave
geez,
gets
me
the
too.
flush of the day. We're starting out early, and we might even have a second one. We don't know. We don't know.
Mhm.
But to me, a heat wave signifies how much deodorant I go through. Oh my God, that's a Westerner's thought, right? That would only be a Westerner because anywhere else they wouldn't give a shit about deodorant. They're giving a shit about living. Yes, I would say.
Yeah. Well, I could read one more paragraph. It's kind of
You
interesting.
want
I've
to?
I've gotten over it. Yes.
Okay.
Oppressively hot
She
and
got over
humid.
it.
This is I got over it.
You
At
got
first
over.
I was like,
Oh
I'm
my
giving up
God.
on the Britannica, but no, I'm going back in. Going
All
back in,
right. All
guys.
right. All right.
Oppressively hot and humid air masses lingering over populated areas can produce many deaths, especially in the middle latitudes where many people,
Yes.
including the very young, the very old, and those with health problems, basically everybody, may be more susceptible to heat stress. Notable modern episodes include the Russian heat wave of 2010, which covered approximately a million square kilometers, basically, and killed
A lot.
55,000 people. What?
Yeah.
Really?
Yep.
2010, 55,000 people
Yeah, I
got
remember it.
killed from heat
Mm-hmm.
in Russia.
Mm-hmm.
The
Yeah.
European heat wave of 2003, in which more than 30,000 people died. I
Mm-hmm.
remember that really hit Paris hard because they all have
Oh,
those lead roofs, those black lead roofs. And it turned
lead
into a
roofs.
little, yeah, it turns it
Jesus.
into like a little tin can. Yeah, all the houses in Paris have those kind of lead coating on the
Oh,
roofs.
just the kind
And
of
the
roof
U
I'm gonna get. I'm getting a metal roof, tin
Uh-huh,
roof,
there
probably.
you
If
go.
I well, that's if this one does. Until this one falls in.
The US heat wave and drought of 1988, which killed more than 4,000 people, and the Indian heat wave of 2015, which killed more than 2,500 people. So that's it. That's the entry in Encyclopedia Britannica on heat
Yeah, I
wave.
thought it was interesting. I had seen it on
Yeah.
Twitter and I thought, you know what? Why not start the show with and not
Yeah.
Wikipedia? I'm not fucking using, oh, sorry, F word already. I'm not using Wikipedia. Mm-mm,
Yeah.
mm-mm.
There you go.
Oh, I'm going to make it through the show, guys. I'm tired. They all know I went to a music festival, but of course I didn't stay all night or anything. I'm just tired.
Yes,
Yes.
no problem.
So what
I can do the heavy lifting if
She's
need
doing the
be.
heavy lifting this week. Yeah. I asked her to do it last week too. I
You
think.
did.
Yeah. Well, what do you say? You want to take off with this one? Start?
Sure.
All right.
Sure.
France 24. And we do have an intermission also.
Oh, yes, we do.
Yes,
We
we do,
do.
as always. Okay.
Right. So this is from France 24, guys. Climate change leading to earlier and earlier heat waves, scientists say. So, as France grapples with a particularly intense heat wave this weekend, with temperatures reaching 40 degrees C in many parts of the country, meteorologists say the increasingly early arrival of heat waves is directly linked to global warming due to human activities. No
Oh,
kidding.
no
No
kidding.
kidding. No kidding. Although heat waves now happen regularly, this one came as a surprise, a clear indication that the consequences of global warming are being felt earlier and earlier. Forecasters and meteorologists describe France's current heat wave as remarkably early. Heat waves in France usually take place in July or August. A heat wave in June is unprecedented and worrying, with meteorologists pointing fingers at man made global warming. With climate disruption, these events are occurring earlier and lasting until later in the year. They are also more intense than they were in the past, said climatologist Agile Jequel. Today, this is the exception, but with the changing climate, we can already expect heat waves to arrive earlier, she
Oh,
said.
lovely.
Yeah. A taste of our future climate. Extreme weather will gradually become the norm if we remain passive in the face of climate change, scientists say. We are already experiencing the impacts from and the increase in heat waves today, but it could become much, much worse in the future if we continue to emit greenhouse gases, Jezequel added. Oil, gas, and coal are the main culprits of global warming. World leaders adopted the historic Paris Agreement on December 21st, 2015, at the COP21 summit. And that was 7 years ago,
21.
guys, until
Yeah.
we, 7 years ago. Enough said. Setting our long term strategies for countries to meet their commitments to wean themselves off fossil fuels. The landmark agreement aimed to limit global warming to 2C this century and continue efforts to limit it further to 1.5C. But last September, 2 months before the COP26 summit in Glasgow, with the target seemingly out of reach, UN Secretary Antonio Guterres warned that the world was on a catastrophic path towards 2.7C of warming. Well, that
Wow.
would be on a good day.
Whoa. That's scary.
It is scary. And that's if we're lucky. The most obvious sign
Not
of
gonna.
global warming caused by greenhouse gas emissions is the increase in the number and intensity of heat waves around the world. Quote, we are experiencing a foretaste of our future climate. There is only one solution to prevent this from becoming the
Mm.
norm: reduce greenhouse gas emissions due to the burning of fossil fuels, climatologist Christophe Cassou told France Inter. Um,
Uh,
According to Cassou, who co authored the latest IPCC Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change report, this reduction must be immediate, sustained over time, and on a large scale. It's not in 3 years, it's now, because it's the accumulation of CO2 that counts for the level of warming, for the level of risk, for the level of occurrence of these heat waves. Heat waves lasting longer, becoming more frequent.
Lovely.
France's National Meteorological Service, Météo France,
Hmm.
Météo France, sorry guys, tried to get that pronunciation, defines a heat
We're
wave
working
as
hard.
a continuous increase in temperature for the last 3 days. In France, the data clearly shows that multiplication of these heat waves of 43 phenomena detected since 1947, 9 took place before 1989, the rest between 1989 and 2020. According to Météo France, there have been 3 times more heat waves in the last 30 years than in the previous 42 years. The country has warmed by 2°C since the beginning of the 20th century, which is therefore higher than the global average of 1.1°C, said climatologist Françoise Vimont. The heat wave in June.
That's right. Jennifer
Wow.
knows. She likes the gong.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. The heat waves in June come after a particularly hot and dry spring that has already caused soil drought in the large part of France, leading to fears for the harvest and creating favorable conditions for fires. May was the hottest month on record, Vimo added.
Wow.
This
On
is
record.
just the beginning of extreme hot weather events, climatologists say. According to Casu, the probability of heat waves today is 1 in 10. In 2030, it will be 1 in 5. And around 2050, 2060, it will be 1 in 2. At the current rate, Météo France predicts an average of 20 to 35 days of heat waves per year at the end of the 21st century, compared to 3 to 4 days at the end of the 20th century.
Mm.
Casus says the duration of heat waves determines their impact. Quote, what we show the IPCC report, what we show in the IPCC report is that these heat waves last for a longer period of time. The summer seasons are longer and will have greater impacts, including heat waves that start early, insofar as they entail risks for agricultural yields. But
That's a
the
problem.
economic cost of heat waves is much more far reaching. According to the French public health agency Santé Publique France, the health impact of heat waves in France between 2015 and 2020 amounts to between 24 and 37 billion euros.
Euros. Well, that was a comfort. I tell you, really, guys, when we go over all this and all week long we're looking and we're finding things and
Mhm.
people have been asking me, well, how do you feel? And in a way, it's like I feel kind of sometimes it all comes together. My stomach turns, and I feel almost like I'm in that Thelma and Louise car, or that there's nothing under me,
Yeah.
and I'm
Yeah.
falling, just falling, and I can't make it stop because, of course, I can't stop climate change, Jennifer.
No.
And there are a
Hmm.
lot of people with ideas and solutions, and I would never tell them unless it's something horrible. Don't do it. But
Yeah.
what we look at is quite heavy. Quite
Oh
heavy.
yeah. Oh yeah. That's why there's so much humor in this show, because otherwise we just, open a vein.
Yeah, there
It's
you
pretty,
go.
it's heavy
Open a
shit.
vein.
Yeah,
It's heavy
this
shit.
show, I mean, it has a fluffy name, Environmental Coffee House, kind of a cute title, is the Biosphere Dissolves, but no, we're dealing with the real
Yeah.
stuff here.
And
Real
every
stuff.
day, and we send each other stuff all week long, and it
Mhm.
is, and on top of that, it never used to be like, we how remember how we had to scout for things years ago. There was nothing every day, and we really had to pull the shit
Oh
out.
yeah.
And now it's just, but
Oh yeah.
the
We're spoiled for
mainstream,
choice.
yeah, but the mainstream media isn't exactly doing it. It's not like they'll do a couple, and you'll see our intermission. But they'll do a couple of shows, little things. But then it's,
Yeah.
okay, moving on. We're moving on. Yeah.
Right.
Always
Well,
moving on.
I had a bit of a Jim McHenry immersion session today. I think I watched 4 of his videos because 'cause they're pretty good actually, you know?
Yeah, he
They're
sure
pretty
is.
good, and, but Yay, Jim!
That's
Yay,
for Jim.
Jim! Jim.
Yeah, and he does have a YouTube, and he's on Facebook on Fridays, but
Yeah,
he does put him on YouTube now. Yes, he does.
yeah, and he was making a note that, CNN spent exactly 9 seconds in the middle of one of their segments. You know, it was like the 3rd or 4th item down in their show. And it was that we have 3 years, you know, to get our act together, or the world's going to basically end in a ball of fire. I mean, something to that extent. You know, it was a very dramatic thing. They spent exactly 9 seconds on it. And then, and you know, moving on. Like we're
Moving on.
fucked in the head. We're just like
All
we're
right.
so screwed. You know?
Yeah, but let's see. Yeah, this is Rich Diana says it's killing the corporate media to have to report anything on climate change, climate chaos, or climate disruption, or
Yeah.
limits to growth. They don't even know where to start because, well, we were going to read the New York Times article that like everybody on the planet is sending me, but we're not.
Right.
Basically, the New York Times is saying that the Reich wing in the United States really pretty much wants to, the Supreme Court wants to quell anything on climate change. They're not going to fund it. They're not going to talk about it. So, you know, we really are reaching the WASF moment in the United States that's going to have the rest of the world, you know, it's going to mess the
Oh
rest of
yeah.
the world up.
I
Oh my
mean,
God.
what can one say? The Supreme Court, you know,
In the
the
United States.
epitome of a armpit of corruption. I mean, you know, really,
Yeah.
it's just
And
it's
well,
horrible.
there
Really
have been some
horrible.
elections in other countries, and I will be watching. I think Colombia, and I will be watching
Mm.
a few things. So we'll see what else is going on around the world. And meantime, we'll move over to the Guardian, which is the UK.
Ah,
Is it the UK version of the New York Times? I suppose, right?
I
And
guess I don't know
yeah,
if there's an equivalency there, but
I don't know.
maybe.
I don't know. All
It
right,
seems to
guys.
be. I mean, they've got a good climate change department
Then
anyway.
that's who can pay the good reporters. Yeah.
Yeah.
So this one, new data reveals extraordinary global heating in the Arctic. So it's every week and is something similar. And this one is from I had pulled up I put it in the chat earlier. It was the research article that's the basis for this. There was quite a
Oh,
few. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I was sort of into the research articles today. And I thought, oh my God, no, we're not going to be nerds tonight. I'm too tired, Jennifer. I thought, oh, she would just say to me, no, we're not being nerds tonight. All right. So here we go. Temperatures in the Barents Sea region are off the scale, and they may affect extreme weather in the US and Europe. And the word may is always, but they are. You know, they always use those, it may, it could, it might, but they are, and we're seeing it. So, new data has revealed extraordinary rates of global heating up in the Arctic, up to 7 times faster. And actually, who did
this
report
is
on
new,
this?
Sandy. This is new. Yeah, right? It
Yeah,
used to be 3 to
three
4
times.
times faster. Well, it used to be
Right.
twice, then it was 3, then it was 4 times faster, and then it became 4 to 5, and now suddenly it's 7 times faster? Ooh,
Yes, and I
ooh,
found I'll have to send you the link for the actual the
mm.
researchers that are doing this work, and Democracy Now had a piece on it also, which was good. New data has revealed it, so the heating is occurring in the North Barents Sea. Jennifer, we better hurry up and get up there. A
That's
region where
right.
fast rising temperatures are suspected to trigger increases in extreme weather in North America, Europe, and Asia. The researchers said that the heating in this region was an early warning of what could happened across the rest of the Arctic. The new figures show annual average temperatures in the area are rising across the year by up to 2.7 C a decade, with particularly high rises in the months of autumn of up to 4 C a decade. This makes the North Barents Sea and its islands the fastest warming place known on Earth.
Wow.
Now, we are not trying to be
Wow.
alarmists here. We are not trying because I know that
Mhm.
if our little channel was actually out there, the trolls would be all over our comment sections. I see them,
Oh, yeah.
saying that none of this is real. There's so much denial, Jennifer. It's disgusting.
Oh, I know. I know.
Anyway, this makes the North, okay, 4C a decade. It makes that the fastest. All right, recent years have seen temperatures far above average recorded in the Arctic, with seasoned observers describing the situation as crazy and weird and simply shocking. You know, Jen, how you do your whole
I'm
repertoire.
shocked. I tell you,
I'm
I'm
shocked.
shocked.
Yes. Some climate scientists have warned that unprecedented events could signal faster and more abrupt climate breakdown. It was already known that the climate crisis was driving heating across the Arctic 3 times faster than the global average, but the new research shows that the situation is even more
I mean,
extreme.
in
Yeah,
places. So the
in
Barents
places.
in particular
That's the
is
one.
warming 7 times faster, which
Yeah.
is basically all up the coast of Norway, isn't it?
The Barents
That's
Sea?
the Barents. Yeah. That would be
So
all up the coast of Norway and kind of looping around there before you get into the Kara Sea and all that. There's the
there's
Barents Sea.
Norway. So
Yeah.
sea ice is good at reflecting sunlight, but it is melting away. Permafrost thaws, ice melts. Or is it thawing also? This allows the darker ocean below to absorb more energy. Losing sea ice also means it no longer restricts the ability of warmer sea waters to heat up the Arctic air. The more ice is lost, the more heat accumulates, forming that feedback loop. We have expected to see a strong warming, but not on the scale we found, said Ketil Isaacson, senior researched researcher at the Norwegian Meteorological Institute, who led the work. We were all surprised. From what we know from all other observation points on the globe, these are the highest warming rates we have observed so far. Right,
My
Jennifer?
God.
Faster than
Yeah.
previously expected.
Yeah.
All of the above that we've seen on all the
Yeah.
Facebook group names. It's happening. Um, the broader message is that the feedback of the melting sea ice is higher than previously shown. And this is the early warning for what's happening to the rest of the Arctic if this melting continues and what is most likely to happen in the next decades. The world scientists said in April that immediate and deep cuts to carbon emissions and other greenhouse gases are needed to tackle the climate emergency. And we all know that there's also the discussion on if that will make hasten in the collapse, right? This
Mhm.
study shows that even the best possible models have been underestimating the rate of warming in the Barents Sea, said Dr. Ruth Mottram, climate scientist at the Danish Meteorological Institute and not part of the team. We seem to be seeing it shifting to a new regime as it becomes less like the Arctic and more like the North Atlantic. Wow. It's really
Mhm.
on the edge right now, and it seems unlikely that sea ice will persist in this region much longer. Wow.
Wow.
I mean, I was reading the actual big time research, and the way they're writing it makes it more
Mhm.
in your face. The research
Did.
published in the journal Scientific Reports, and I will put the link because it's open source. I didn't have to ask anybody to get it for me. Is based on data from the automatic weather stations on the islands of Svalbard and Franz Josef Land. Up until now, this had not been through the standard quality control process and made public. The result was a high quality set of surface air temperature measurements from 1981 to 2020. The researchers concluded that the regional warming rate for the northern Barents Sea region is exceptional and corresponds to 2 to 2.5 times the Arctic warming averages by and 5 to 7 times the global warming averages. There was a very strong correlation over time between air temperature, sea ice loss, and ocean temperature, Isaacson said. The rapid temperature rise would have a very big impact on ecosystems. For example, here in Oslo, we have a temperature rise of 0.4 C a decade. And people really feel the disappearing snow conditions during the winter. But what's happening in the far north is off the scale. Isaacson said the new information on heating rates in the area would help research by other scientists on how changes in the Arctic affect extreme weather in populous areas at the lower latitudes. So there is evidence that the rapid heating changes the jet stream winds that encircle the pole and influence the extreme weather. Sea ice loss and warming in the Barents Sea, in particular, have been isolated in previous work as being especially relevant to changes in wintertime atmospheric circulation that are tied to extreme weather events, said Michael Mann. If this mechanism is valid, now, of course, here's the hope
Yeah,
here.
why does
There's
he
some
always say shit
debate
like
over
that?
that. Yeah,
Why
there's
does
the
he have to
debate
say
over that.
if this mechanism is
Because
valid? He knows
he's Michael
very
Mann.
well. Because
Then
he's the
because
bastard Michael Mann. That's who
no,
he
because
is.
he's the establishment. You know, then this is yet another way climate change could be increasing certain types of extreme weather events, and which isn't well captured by current models. Well, let me tell you, when I read these things and then I listen to Marjorie Taylor Greene, that fucking moron congressman from Georgia in the United States, hook, line, and sinker read the Heartland Institute saying that global warming is making everything greener and it's better for us and it's healthy. She is clueless. Okay, clueless and very dangerous in the United States. And who is doing it in the other countries? Because there are equivalents to Marjorie Taylor Greene in other countries. And that's the end of us. Clueless
That
fucking
is.
morons. That's the end of us.
Absolutely. I cannot stand her. She makes me just go, ah,
Yeah, but it's dangerous shit. Because global warming is, it's making everything green and it's good for the plants and the trees grow. I want to fucking smack her across the face. Sorry, I
So
am
ignorant.
tired
It's
tonight. And
willful
our channel,
ignorance.
we can curse on this channel.
We can.
We can. That's
We
right.
can.
And now we are going to move on to methane, which is Jennifer's specialty.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, methane. I wonder if
Okay.
Marjorie Taylor Greene even knows what it is. Other than what? Burning off from a fracking flare? Oh, it's good for the environment. All right, I'm done.
All right. So this one is from breezyscroll.com. Climate change, largest ever methane leak detected at a Russian coal mine. This is no kidding, right? So, according to reports citing satellite data, the biggest methane gas leak in the world
Wow.
occurred at a Russian coal mine. This shocking news came as nations across the world are trying to cut
It's
emissions and
shocking.
keep a check on climate change. Oh
Oh
my
boy.
God.
Yeah.
As
Okay.
per reports, the biggest methane leak, gas leak in history occurred at the Rasha Penka mine in Kemerovo Oblast. Killing me with the names.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Have you been
It's
taking
the
Russian
lar-
lessons without telling me? She's not
I
supposed to do
just
that.
kind of fake it. I just kind of like put a bunch
Yeah,
of
we're supposed to do our Russian lessons together.
It is the largest coal mine in Russia. So there, a lot of times methane does come right out of these coal mines, right? And so this is the largest coal mine in Russia. So basically the
Look at
earth
that.
is just farting
Farting it
through that
out.
coal mine. Yeah,
Yes, farting it right
farting through
out.
the
Don't
coal
be
mine.
shy. Don't be
Yep.
shy.
The leak is enough to run about 5 coal-fired power stations. This amount of gas would have been enough to power 2.4 million homes for a year. In January, around 90 tons of methane gas was released per hour at the Rasha Pukya site mine. The leak was first traced by GHG-SAT data in
Yeah,
January. GHG-SAT is a commercial satellite monitoring company based in
in
Canada.
Canada. I should click on
Uh,
it
in
after the show.
Canada.
After you read it, we'll click on it and look at it.
Okay. According to them, this is the biggest leak from a single source. It is over 50% bigger than the ones before. Around 13 distinct methane plumes were measured from the mine. They had ranged in size from 658 to 17,994, so basically 18,000 kilograms per hour.
Wow.
That stated GHGSat. We are seeing an increase in methane from this site generally, which could be the result of increased coal production linked to global trends in coal use, said Brody Wright. White. White is the director of energy, landfill, and mines in the monitoring firm. Why is this increasing the climate change crisis? Currently, the mine is leaking gas at a low rate. However, it first started about 6 months before the survey in January. Urgent action is crucial. Quote, it's critical to set up comprehensive satellite monitoring system for methane. We also need to deploy a system of incentives and sanctions that can remedy these emissions, focusing first on the super emitters, stated Durwood Zalke. Zalke Zalke is the president of the Institute for Governance based in Washington. Methane is 80% more powerful greenhouse. This is
Mm-hmm.
wrong. This is wrong. They got
Oh.
this wrong.
All
It
right. Well,
is
then you
not
make it right.
80% more. Okay, look at what they said and look at what is right. These guys
Well,
got
look
it
at
wrong.
this. This is a brand new one. We've never used them before. Breezy
No,
Scroll.
but
So why don't we
this is a
write to them?
okay. But listen to this. They say methane is 80% more powerful greenhouse gas than carbon dioxide.
Oh,
Bang! Wrong. It
yeah, it
is
is wrong.
80 times more powerful than carbon dioxide if you want to take it at any given point in its little methane
Right.
life.
Yeah, it's a
But
very
it's
short
certainly not
lived.
80%. It's like 8 million percent. That is a pretty huge
Yeah,
deal, right?
I hear
That's
you.
pretty great.
Mm-hmm.
That's a pretty huge deal. Earlier this year, the International Energy Agency
Yay.
warned that most nations are underreporting methane emissions. Moreover, recent studies show that cutting methane is one of the fastest methods for holding down the rising temperature. Additionally, sharp cuts also prevent a 0.25 degrees C rise by 2050.
Oh my gosh. Okay,
Wow. Wow.
we'll have to look at this
Wow.
one. Let's see the let's see the sat. Okay, here it
Little
is.
breezy scroll has to get some facts straight.
Yeah, it's a new one, and I admit I don't think we had enough time to
Oh,
review
well, it's okay.
that
It's
one.
it's interesting. It's interesting to see it how off base they are though,
All
because I
right.
mean, it's quite
So
a bit.
who's this is a satellite from Canada, 3 new satellites in orbit, but who's their key market? Ah, coal mining, oil and gas. Okay. This is and waste, all right, waste management. So this Canadian satellite serves the fossil fuel industry and serves the dirty industry. So we'll have to definitely check out who funds
Huh.
Breezy Scroll. Yeah, it's interesting.
Interesting. Very
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. But they got to know
Wow.
too. They got to know how much they're fucking up the earth, right? I mean, they really are. They really are. All right. Well,
Yes,
that
they
I
are.
mean, at least we know. I mean, it is the largest, and that this is not the only one that reported on this. All right.
Uh-huh.
So Breezy Scroll has a lot of stuff. Now we're going to move on a little, but we're going to take a little intermission if you don't mind, guys, because I am I have to get up, and I made a little video. So let's enjoy the short intermission. All right. Okay.
Parts of Western Europe are bracing for crippling heat this weekend, with temperatures in some areas expected to rise above 40 degrees Celsius. Firefighters in Spain are already battling a series of forest fires brought on by the soaring temperatures.
Smoke rises over the Spanish countryside as multiple forest fires erupt across Catalonia. Spain has been sweltering under severe temperatures for almost a week, the earliest summer heatwave in over 40 years. The country is already battling severe droughts, brought on by an unusually dry winter and spring. Now, surging temperatures have sparked a series of blazes that firefighters are struggling to contain. And experts warn that the heatwave is spreading. Neighbouring France is bracing for weekend temperatures as high as 38 degrees, 10 to 15 degrees higher than the seasonal average.
It's not the first drought nor the first heat wave in southwestern France, but we've never seen such an early and intense heat wave in June before.
Outdoor public events have been banned in France's southwest, while a jump in the use of air conditioners has forced the government to import electricity from neighbouring countries. All across Europe, these summer heat waves are happening more frequently and lasting longer.
It's a sign of global warming. This is obviously triggered by human activity, and we now see that this new climate we're experiencing is becoming more intense and bringing us this stifling heat.
As the rest of Europe braces for soaring temperatures, fire crews in Catalonia work through the night, hoping for a break from the brutal heat.
Parts of France have banned outdoor events and resistance celebrations as a record heat wave sweeps across Europe. The Bordeaux region reached 40 degrees this week, resulting in large public gatherings being cancelled due to safety risks. Private events such as weddings are still permitted. Scientists say heat waves are becoming more intense and longer lasting in Europe. Temperatures are forecast to peak over the weekend. Spain, Italy and the UK are experiencing similarly extreme weather.
Tonight, the United States is in the midst of an extreme weather nightmare with record heat, fires, and severe flooding. Brian Todd is working the story for us. Brian, every region of the country seems to be affected, at least in some way.
Right, Wolf, just about every corner of the lower 48. On one extreme, federal officials say there are 40 active large wildfires that have burned more than 1 million acres in 6 states. On the other, historical rainfall and snow melting are dealing a crippling blow to an iconic landmark. A large house crumbles into the surging Yellowstone River and washes downstream.
That is insane.
The town of Gardner, Montana, where that house was, has been left isolated, surrounded by water, according to officials, with swift water rescues taking place. Heavy rain and melting snow caused catastrophic flooding in Yellowstone National Park, which had to be evacuated. Roads and bridges washed away. The parents of CNN supervising producer Tim Carter told us of their nail-biting trip out of Yellowstone over a bridge that was compromised.
When we were going over it, it really was scary because the water was already violently, swirling around the bridge. So we did find out later that it had washed out.
But the Yellowstone region is not alone. Several areas of America's lower 48 states are experiencing extreme weather, between inescapable heat floods, heavy storms, and tornadoes. More than 1/3 of Americans, 125 million people, are under heat alerts from North Carolina through the Plains states due to a so-called heat dome that parked itself over the Tennessee Valley. A public health official in Houston says no one in these areas should shrug off the risks.
When you have extreme heat, then everyone is at danger. When you suffer heat exhaustion, or heat stroke, then your vital organs, your brain suffers damages, and you could die.
At one point in the past 48 hours, more than 500,000 households in the upper Midwest had lost power as residents dealt with crippling heat in those areas. Violent thunderstorms in the Midwest did severe damage and prompted tornado warnings in Chicago. In the West and Southwest, record-breaking temperatures combined with high winds, low humidity, and drought are fueling wildfires. The pipeline fire, raging near Flagstaff, Arizona, has grown to more than 20,000 acres. One resident of a Montana town near Yellowstone can only hope her new home survived the flooding.
My husband and I just put in a brand new house, never been able to afford a new house. It's sitting at the top of the lane, and we're hoping that by some God miracle that our house will be there.
This particular pattern of extreme weather is expected to last for at least the next few days, and beyond that, not a lot of relief. Our experts at the CNN Weather Center say because of climate change, heat waves like this one are going to become increasingly common and more severe. And Wolf, we haven't even gotten to the heart of hurricane season yet.
Parts of Western Europe are bracing for crippling heat this weekend.
All right. That
Wow.
was our intermission. So I would imagine that it was about almost 6 minutes for Australia,
Yeah.
Europe, and the United States, all of the settler colonial countries.
Wow.
So 6 minutes. And that's going to bring us on to this next article, which I think I'll read this one, and then you're going to bring us home with Umair.
Okay.
How's that sound?
Yeah,
All right.
good.
So, guys, we're going to take a little bit of a walk to a little different kind of story. And this is called Climate Collapse is the Logical Result of Colonialism. And I have taken to learning history recently, not just of climate change, but of humanity and how we settled other countries and how the indigenous people pretty much everywhere got screwed. And it's been a fascinating ride. So you can't take from people and the planet forever. This is pretty nice. In Sri Lanka, we proudly display tea plantations and tea pluckers on tourism posters. The whole thing is a crime scene. The British uprooted both ecosystems and Indian Tamils to plant and pluck tea. This was the entire premise of colonialism. Take from the land and the people and make money. A tea plantation is a monocrop. It's an ecological abomination, and tea pluckers still live in the deepest poverty. The fact that they're still going also shows you that colonialism never ended. It just became capitalism. White people still make money from southern resources like tea, coffee, uranium, gold, lithium, and oil. They still have privileged access to our countries as tourists while we sweat in visa lines to go the other way. And we're still supposed to be grateful for this. It's development, the new white word for civilizing. It's all an atrocity, and it's ongoing. The central logic of colonialism is to exploit the planet and its people. And if you take this to the logical conclusion, it ends in climate and species collapse. There is no other way. People have always said this, and it was always coming someday. Unfortunately, this is that day. Colonial logic. The colonial logic was private companies essentially selling NFTs to things they didn't own. The first corporations got charters from European kings and queens to loot places those kings and queens had nothing to do with. It was a license to kill. It was a license to steal. Then they slapped a cross on it to make it seem benevolent. The latest logic from from people like Yuval Noah Harari is that they did it for science and knowledge, but that's just the latest version of the white man's burden and still bullshit. European imperialism. Yep. Wait, do I have a bullshit? No, I don't. That's somebody else. I don't have a bullshit button. European imperialism was entirely unlike all other imperial projects in history. Previous seekers of empire tended to assume that they already understood the world. Conquest merely utilized and spread their view of the world. The Arabs, to name one example, did not conquer Egypt, Spain, or India in order to discover something they did not know. The Romans, Mongols, and Aztecs voraciously conquered new lands in search of power and wealth, not of knowledge. In contrast, European imperialists set out to distant shores in hope of obtaining new knowledge along with new territories. Colonialism was about power and money, not writing textbooks. Lol. Every generation of imperialists just tells them some shit to make themselves feel better, both religious and secular. The true logic of colonialism, it's simple, legal, and even mathematical. The first IPO was the Dutch East India Company in 1602. And the corporate form has but one imperative: maximize value for shareholders. Everyone else can get fucked. And so here we are with corporations spread across the world, exploiting it with more and more sophisticated tools, completely fucked and losing it all. The history we know is that colonialism magically ended. Oh gosh, I've got that. There we go. Magically ended. Oh my goodness. After World War II-ish, but that's not what happened. World War II was a clash between imperialists, not against them. Hitler's Mein Kampf quite openly mourned that Germany was missing out on the great colonial looting. Those spaces are only waiting for the plowshare, and it is certain that nature did not set those territories apart as the exclusive property of any one nation or race to be held in reserve for the future. Such land awaits the people who have the strength to acquire it and the diligence to cultivate it. Nature knows no political frontiers. She begins by establishing life on this globe and then watches the free play of forces. Those who show the greatest courage and industry are the children nearest to her heart, and they will be granted the sovereign right of existence. If a nation confines itself to internal colonization while other races are perpetually increasing their territorial possessions all over the globe, that nation will be forced to restrict the numerical growth of its population at a time when the other nations are increasing theirs. And that, from Mein Kampf by Hitler, which is also a hate crime. Did anybody ever read that here? Because I did not. Hitler's idea of Lebensraum was simply the extension of colonial ideas to the peninsula of Europe. His mistake was applying all the loot, rape, murder, and pillage to white people. That's what was unforgivable. The people that we consider the heroes of World War II, the British, the French, the Americans, actually did much worse, but to colored people. And those people are still undefeated. They're the Nazis that won. Weakened by infighting, colonial powers had to cede political power in the colonies, and even the idea of colonization became verboten. Obviously bad and not to be discussed, but most of the former colonies never got economic independence. Colonized countries are still paying debts to their colonizers. France still controls many ports and natural resources in Africa. American troops still encircle everyone, and all their private companies and banks and captive institutions like the IMF still strangle and structurally adjust everyone. The countries that tried to get economic independence through homegrown socialism and communism were violently couped, deposed, and overthrown. The few that survived often remain isolated by sanctions, which is a white word for siege warfare. To this day, colonialism never ended because the colonizers were never defeated. They merely changed form, and not even that much. Hell, the genocidal British colonial family is still on the throne. Bring me their heads if you want to tell me colonialism is really done. Until then, it's quite obvious that it goes on and on. Where does it end? Where does colonial logic end? Where does the idea that you can violently take from people and the earth forever lead? Well, look around. The earth, the oceans, the ecosystems, they have taken and taken and taken, and now they're finally given out. The ocean cannot take any more heat. It will simply reach a tipping point and flood every city we know. The earth cannot take any more degradation. It is already collapsing into famines and droughts. And the few species clinging to the corners we give them are already giving out. We're living through a mass extinction of all life, that includes many of us, and it's just the logical conclusion of 400 years of fucking around. This is the time of finding out. The fact is that climate collapse cannot end without the final overthrow of colonial powers. You know, the people that still maintain passport and vaccine apartheid against most people in the world, the people that still consider it that now I don't agree with that, quite frankly, but anyway, the people that still consider it their sovereign right to drone or torture whoever they want. That I agree with. The people that still openly steal from countries like Afghanistan and use bloodless bureaucrats to economically strangle the world. The people that still demonize colored people as terrorists or undemocratic or whatever new versions of savages they could come up with. The fact that this overthrow isn't happening and that the colonial powers are instead imploding tells you that climate collapse will not end. They're not going to give up power peacefully or have taken it from them. So we're just going to have to ride this one out. The whole climate will collapse under the weight of their exploitation, and there's a little comfort in them getting justice at last. We have but one earth, and we are all on it. And it will collapse on the most innocent people, hardest of all. Climate collapse is not some new thing, some new discovery scientists just figured out. Science is a false god as well. It was scientists who found and drilled their fossil fuels out. Science walked hand in hand with empire, and them discovering climate collapse is like discovering a flower by trample on it. You know, I can't help but think of Michael on that one, Michael Mann. They could have just left well enough alone, and even now they don't listen to their secular priests. Money is their only god, and they'll worship him all the way to hell. You know, there's a lot of guests we've had on that feel this way about academia and science. We have. Christine Mattis is one of them. Where we are is just the logical result of an algorithm that started 400 years ago, when white people created artificial life forms called corporation with the ambit to enslave people, exploit land, and take whatever made them grow faster. We never stopped this. We never stopped them. And so here we are. Climate collapse is just the logical result of colonialism. If you take, at some point, it's all gone. Wow.
No kidding.
Heavy shit. And
heavy shit.
Not only are we giving you that heavy shit from this guy, he's from Colombo, Sri Lanka, Jennifer's now going to bring up the end and really, really move you with Umar Haque.
Oh, we love Umar Hague, don't we?
Yes.
This just out. Looks like yesterday. So this is hot off the press from our good friend Umar Haig. Heat, flood, fire, drought, war, inflation. Welcome to the age of extinction. Our planet is changing in profound, terrifying, and visible ways now, but we're still in denial about what it means. Let me share a story with you. It comes from a friend, a successful enough guy, born and raised back and forth between the Indian subcontinent and the West. Now he's settled in the West, a doctor with a family of his own. He said to me, "Man, I didn't take it seriously. What you've been writing about lately, meaning he and some of my old friends, even used to make fun of it sometimes. Alarmists, LOL. But something happened. And now I frowned and listened. My friend has a niece, his sister's daughter. They live in the Indian subcontinent in an ancient city of artists and poets, of music and literature, a beautiful and learned place. She's all of 5 years old, a bright and curious, intelligent little girl, an observant one. One day recently, last week, the niece asked her mother a question she began to ask over and over. "Mommy, where's the monster?" At first, her mom dismissed the question. Kids will be kids. They ask all kinds of strange and funny and sometimes jarring questions. But the daughter kept asking. She'd frown, scrunch up her little face. There was something happening in her tiny world which was out of place. She didn't understand. Something was wrong, unnatural, and she needed her mommy, her rock, her guiding light to give her an explanation. So she, in the determined way little kids of a certain age can be, wouldn't take silence or refusal or a dismissal or a denial for an answer. Again and again, "Mommy, where's the monster?" This went on for a whole week, apparently. And finally, wondering if something was really wrong with her daughter, her mother, my friend's sister, asked in a combination of exasperation and concern, quote, "Darling, there's no monster. Monsters aren't real. You know that. Everything's fine. What makes you think there's a monster? What monster?" The little girl replied, and I guarantee that her answer is going to suddenly chill you to the bone, just like it did me and my friend. "The monster that's killing all the birds, Mommy." The monster that's killing all the birds. And suddenly, her mother understood. And you did too, I bet. For weeks, there had been a heat wave, an abnormal one, a killing one. Temperatures had risen to 50 degrees Celsius or 122 degrees Fahrenheit. Birds had just dropped dead, falling from the skies. The little girl, being observant, curious, determined, and a little kid, had drawn the only conclusion she could. There was a monster out there in the world, just killing things, making birds fall dead from the sky, leaving them just littering the streets and balconies and roofs of the ancient city. The mother, I'm told, suddenly wanted to cry, but she didn't. She explained as best she could to the little girl the story of our world, planet, how it's changing. The birds are dying because the heat is killing them. They can't fly anymore. They're thirsty. They can't breathe. Me, when I heard that story, I felt many things. I felt heartbroken. A certain grief rushed through me. I felt angry, disappointed. This is the world our children are inheriting. They have to imagine monsters just to make sense of it. But the little girl was right. There is a monster stalking her little world. The monster's name is extinction. I share that story with you because I find it a perfect summary of the plight we now face as a civilization, as humanity, as fellow travelers on this voyage of life. I have never, ever heard a better summation of this moment in history than the tale I just told you. Why? It's not just the Indian subcontinent. In Spain, birds are dying too, falling from the sky, being literally cooked alive. Spain is 4,500 miles away from Delhi. In the Arctic, the ice sheets are melting at levels that the scientists call catastrophic and off the charts. In the oceans, the currents appear to be slowing. In London, the temperatures were tropically hot, and fires broke out over the city. Fires which ravage continents every summer now. In the American West, water is running out as reservoirs and rivers run dry. Need I go on? This is where we are, and it's different now. Before, we used to maybe, if we were thoughtful people, learn about a thing called climate change. It was called climate change because that term was invented by a hard right lobbyist to replace the more accurate global warming. Climate change. That doesn't even sound threatening. Why worry? It's not happening at all. Our societies began to debate, and hence, even places like Australia elected heads of state who denied it. In those days, not so long ago, the 2000s, the 2010s, this event was not an event yet, really. It was an abstraction, mostly climate change. LOL, it'll happen one day. But right now, I've got my video games, my celebrities, my consumers' dreams to focus on. Who cares? It wasn't real, not yet. It was happening, sure, but people couldn't really experience it much yet, except maybe in remote places. As a civilization, we had not experienced the event yet. So comfortable in our ignorance, we called it climate change and went on about our daily lives, making absolutely no preparations for it. But now, fast forward just a handful of years, and something is happening. Human beings are now beginning to experience the event. It is not just undeniable, it's undeniable because it's all around us. In the record breaking heat wave, the fires, the droughts, the shortages, the inflation, the birds falling dead from the sky. Now we are beginning to experience the event as a lived reality. Suddenly, extinction is here. This realization is happening in different ways, even more disturbing than the last. Suddenly, Europe is realizing that no, climate change isn't just about utopian architecture or treaties. It's a killing kind of heat that cities and towns aren't prepared for. Suddenly, America is beginning to wonder what happens when the water runs out, when the power grid blacks out. How does civilization survive? Suddenly, people in the South, places like the Indian subcontinent, are wondering, my God, if it's this hot now, how much hotter will it be in just 5 years?
Jen.
Where will we go? Should we move north to the mountains? Just abandon the old beautiful city of artists and poets? What happens to it? We are beginning to live inside the event, and we are not ready to do so. Why did my friend's niece have to ask her mother if there was a monster? Because nobody had taught her about the event. Sure, she learns about climate change, but she goes to a fine school. But we don't teach anyone about the realities of the event, from adults to kids. Because in our global culture, in our way of thinking, there is no real understanding of what this is. We do not teach people what the event is. What is it? This is extinction. This isn't just climate change. Climate change was deliberately designed to be a neutral term which hid the impacts of the event. What happens when the temperature suddenly rises? It's happened over and over again in history, but on this scale, only 5 previous times. And each time, the result has been extinction. Climate change is a profoundly inadequate way to describe all this. My friend's niece, of course, knew about it. She understood that, yes, the temperatures were rising, but nobody had taught her what it really means. That ecologies were beginning to collapse, that ecosystems would have their hearts ripped out. Beings of all kinds would just begin to die. And as they did, our systems would fail, and our cities would become uninhabitable, at least many of them. Nobody had taught her that. Maybe it's too much to teach kids. But the alternative? Shall we just go on pretending with them this fairy tale that no, the planet isn't dying? They're going to notice anyways. In this story, you can see the problem we face in crystal clear, painful detail. Our civilization is still in denial about what it now faces, about what is now being experienced suddenly as a lived reality, not some kind of abstraction anymore that can be safely ignored in favor of the latest comic book movie or Instafluencer. Now we are beginning to live inside the event. Every day, more and more of us are living inside the event. We are not existing outside it anymore, at a safe, comfortable arm's distance removed. Before, it was a handful of people living next to the burning forest or trapped by the rising seas. Now, it's London, a burning Spain, a flooded Yellowstone, a drought-stricken American West, a scorched Indian subcontinent, and Australia and Canada ravaged by mega fires. More and more of us are living inside the event, and we are beginning to suddenly, in horror, realize what this really means. It's this hot now. Wait, we're running out of water now? The electricity grids are barely working already. Wait, there are shortages of basics from tampons to baby formula now?
Damn.
My God, what about 3 years, 5, 10? Mommy, where's the monster? We're all beginning to ask the same question my friend's niece did. And the answer to that question goes like this. There is a monster. Its name is extinction. Human beings are now living inside an event which has only happened 5 times in deep history, and never since their kind has walked the earth. Extinction. It's coming as a shock to us because those who warned of it were dismissed and attacked, and sometimes even criminalized, certainly ignored. Hence, we failed so badly at preparing for it that we didn't. We didn't even teach our kids what they were going to experience. We didn't harden our infrastructure and rebuild our cities. We didn't alter our economies. We didn't change a single social norm. We didn't make a cultural effort to tell the story, which was to define history forevermore and cleave it in two. BEAE, before and after extinction.
Jesus.
We are still in denial about the event. And yet, it's beginning to happen everywhere, all around us. Even as a child can see it. But what does it say when adults are the one desperately trying to ignore it and hope it will magically go away? And children are the ones noticing it. That's it, isn't it? It's a demonstration of how badly we have failed, my friends, so far. And every day we keep failing at all these tasks, altering economies, changing norms, educating our kids, transforming our cities, hardening our infrastructure, culturally telling the story, making one last ditch effort to save what we can of life on this planet, civilization, and ourselves, the worse it will get. And it will get much worse, much faster than we can understand now. Because, well, so far, we've been in denial. If I asked you even 5 years ago, do you think the birds will be dropping dead from the sky because the planet's too hot for them to survive? You would have laughed at me and called me an alarmist. That's exactly what did happen to those of us who warned. Who's laughing now? Except the psychopathic billionaires who hope to make a killing from killing. Anyone? I'm not. I'm horrified. And you should be too, because this is not a joke. It's not a warning anymore. It's not a prediction. You are beginning to live inside the event, the greatest one in human history. All of it so far. And the most terrible one, too. The one which those of us left centuries from now will remember as kind of Holocaust, as history's great cleaving point, when humanity either grew up into maturity, responsibility, truth, grace, compassion, or perished in stupidity, ignorance, greed, and hate. The stakes are these: saving what we can of life, the planet, ourselves, and civilization as fast as we can, as much as we can, as desperately as we can, or more of this faster. This is extinction. Do we get it yet?
Wow.
Wow.
Oh,
Wow.
postmortem, Jen. Pretty hairy.
Oh, that one got me, really. Umair says it. I mean, it takes a leap of, and then putting all the dots together and being a great writer and being able to make a compelling case and understanding science and society and art and sensitivity. And he has it all. And he, more than anybody else, gives us a vision of the future.
He does.
And it ain't pretty. It ain't pretty. It's, it's rough. And this is where we are. And I feel that we're beginning to catch up with all of this now. And I can't believe I'm actually crying.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think we're actually beginning to catch up with this now. And this thing is actually starting to happen really, really fast.
That's why I say I feel like that feeling. But that's where there's post-collapse. There's Carolyn Brunner, Carolyn Baker. We're going to be reading her book. She sent me the PDF for you, and we're going to read that book.
Yes.
Bring her on. She can help us. There's a lot of different things that are coming up on the internet to help people that are doing we present the news, but there are those then that will pick you up and help you. And we could try. We could try and Jen. I
Oh,
want to come over
and
there and wipe your tears.
in presenting the news, you have to bring it through your body, and you have to acknowledge it on a visceral level, and you have to understand that this is where we are, and we are going faster and faster. And the faster we go, the faster we go, and the faster we go. And that's the meaning of exponentiation. And that's why it's in the Barents Sea and in those places around there, it's rising 7 times faster than in the rest of the world. I mean, things are just like every time you turn around, it's more. And this is where we are. And it's a hell of a lot to handle as an aware and awake person, to handle all of this information. It's almost more than you can bear. And you have to employ compartmentalization just in order to be able to manage your day. You just freaking
That's
compartmentalize
it.
everything.
That's
You really
how a
do.
lot of us live.
Yeah.
Things are transactional. You put this here. I mean, all this stuff I read, and then again, though, I always say I can handle this almost better than the politics, because the politics is so ludicrous that's going on around the world. People are so stupid and ignorant, and it just really, oh my God. But there are those that are going to come up. Mears Project. People are trying to come up with things to mitigate. And I know that there's no way to live sustainably, but there
Yeah.
are people out there, and the article I read, an angry person, and I understand it. I didn't agree with everything, and you don't have to agree with everything, but the premise was history, what's happened to people, and you have to feel that. You have to feel
Mhm.
that. I'm not exactly, I'm not a science, not a hater, scientist hater. I think there's good and bad in every career, good and bad. There are unethical people in anything, but
Mhm.
I can't lump it. I worked in research too long. I can't lump people together like that. But so a couple of comments. Compartmentalization is maybe a more modern way of doing, a more modern thinking way of doing things. Hard to compartmentalize when you live closer to
Yeah.
nature. Oh
It
yeah, I
is,
see
and you can only do
exactly.
it for so long, and it's not an answer to anything. It's just a way of dealing short term, very immediate, dealing with
Yes,
the task at hand,
we
not
live
trying
every
to
day.
understand the entire big
I
picture
know.
all the time.
And we are still here. And
Mhm.
Jennifer, you've been by fires, and I have been by tornadoes and tornado warnings, and we all have to acclimate ourselves to the things that are going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, boss, and Rick is right. I mean, it was the fossil fuel beast. That's what underlies, is that we burned carbon from how long ago.
Yeah.
Well, guys, we did an hour and a half, our usual hour and a half every Sunday night.
We
And
don't mean to go so long, we really
yeah,
don't. We mean
but
to
it's
keep it
once a
to an
week.
hour, but it just doesn't happen.
We are a once a week show. And so if it's too long, watch a half an hour, watch a half an hour, watch a half an hour. That's what you do.
Mhm.
And I want to thank you, Die42, for coming, and Molly Patrick, and some of the new names. And Lisa, you're here, in Valhalla 56 and CB. Dwayne, thank you all. Channel Warhorse, Rick Small. Kim, thank you for moderating. Scott, I made you a mod. You don't have to be. It was in response to your statement of, Kim, who's going to moderate the moderator? And I thought, you will. I clicked it. So there you go. There you go. All right. Thank you, everyone. And I will see you on Wednesday. I might have a guest. I think I'm going to have a guest. I'm not sure. I'm not going to announce it yet. So good night, Jennifer. I love you so much.
I love you too.
And I hope we do get to go to the Arctic, even if we have to fly.
So too.
Because it seems to me like that's going to be the only way we're ever going to see, if we ever are so fortunate to do it. Love you.
Love you too.
Good night, everybody.
Bye, guys.